It's like everybody found out but you. You were like the last to know, he shows me.
I was the very last person to know.
The way that he wants you to remember him is the way that he was when you were just a little girl. He says, and I always hope that I can be your hero in heaven. So first of all, when I'm connecting, there's a soul that's coming through that passed in tragedy. And I keep feeling that they fell before they died.
My dad.
That was your father?
I believe so.
Can you can you bring her on camera? This is what I'm saying, is it doesn't matter if you're off to the side, those souls are here. So first of all, I gotta tell you, your father's here. Because the moment I'm connecting, he just said to me, I wasn't supposed to die like this. I wasn't supposed to leave this world like this. What's crazy is that the moment I'm connecting with his soul, he says to me that he was not feeling good before he died, but he didn't think that he was gonna pass. He didn't think he was gonna leave this world. Do you understand that?
I do.
And then also, when I'm speaking to his soul, I just heard that there was a loss of oxygen with him when he had died. He says to me, and Matt, that's what had happened. He just showed me a vision of his brain, and he tells me that there was a loss of oxygen. And even if your dad were to recover from this, even if your dad would be able to be brought back, he tells me there was no way he would have been able to be himself here in this world. This is what I don't understand. When I'm connecting with your father, he was telling me that there were things going on in his body beforehand. I kept feeling like he felt dizzy. You don't know if he was dizzy or if there was dizziness connected with him?
He was an alcoholic.
Okay.
He stopped drinking and he started again.
You know, your dad tells me that despite the issues that he had here in this world, you loved him so much. And he says to me that he wants to thank you for always keeping him so close to your life here in this world. He says, Matt, yes, I had my problems. He says, but I always got back on my feet. And what I have to tell you is that your dad thought the world of you here in this world. He says, but there's one thing that I wish that I did different. He says, I wish that I would have gotten to tell my daughter how much that I actually loved her. I wish I would have gotten to tell her how proud I was of her. He says, because what's really hard is your dad didn't expect to die. And he tells me that he thought he had his whole lifetime to make memories with you, to see you, to be there for birthdays, to do all of these things. He says, but Matt, there was something missing in her life. As a dad, he tells me that he didn't get to make you feel special. He says, and that was the moment that I missed out on. He says, because there were times when your dad took things for granted. He took for granted birthdays and celebrations and holidays. And what's really hard is now your dad can see what you go through from the other side. And your dad tells me that every holiday, every birthday that you have, you think back to moments when your dad wasn't there, even when he was alive.
I do.
Your dad has 2 words to say to you, and that's, I'm sorry. He's been wanting to reach you from the other side to tell you this. You know, I gotta go into I gotta tell you things that are gonna make you upset, but they come from your dad, and I gotta be honest and just tell you the truth. Because it's going to hurt what I'm going to tell you, but it's also going to help you to heal. Your father just said to me the reason why. He said to me that he was very upset with your mom, and he was very upset about what happened between him and between her. So he says to me that your mom met somebody else. Is that true?
That is.
And he says to me, Matt, he says, I was so upset with her mother. I was so upset that she met somebody else. I'm so upset that this man, I don't know who the man is, because this man replaced me, he said. Your dad was so upset that he walked away from everybody, because your dad says to me, I didn't want to be there when he's here. I didn't want to go to the house. I didn't want to see this. I didn't want to see that. And he put up a fight and put up a wall between you and your mom and you. And at the end of the day, nobody suffered more than you. So your dad says to me, Matt, I'm sorry for being selfish. You need to tell my daughter that I should have acted like an adult, because I didn't like the fact that her mom met somebody else and was continuing on her life without me. He says, I pushed my daughter away. I pushed my family away. He says, and it wasn't your mom's fault. He says, it was mine. I screwed up. So your dad wants to let you know this, because as much as you love your mom and care for your mom, he also tells me there's some pain in your heart about what happened between him and between her. I don't want to say this, but I have to tell you everything that he tells me. That's just my policy. Your dad said to me that you still hold your mom accountable in some ways. And he says to me, Matt, you need to tell her to let it go. It was never her mom's fault. We were 2 adults. We had our issues. He says, but the way that we handled it wasn't fair to her. So I'm telling you this because, correct me if I'm wrong, you felt your dad died and you never got to hear this from him. You never got to understand why he acted the way that he did. And at the same time, all you felt was hurt and pain. Do you understand that?
I do.
But your dad is here to validate one thing. Your dad is here to validate to you that on the other side, he is completely fine. He put the alcohol bottles away to have this conversation with you face to face, to tell you from the other side that he does love you. He does care about you. And don't think about him being mad, grouchy, or angry. Think about the good memories that you had with him. He says, because Matt, I shouldn't have let anything else interfere in my life with my daughter and our relationship. I really hope that this helps you. And I know there's still a lot of healing that you're going through. And I know that there's still a lot of pain that you're going through. But your father is hoping that with this message, you'll know without a doubt that he is there and with you, and that his soul is safe and at peace on the other side. There's one last thing. Your dad tells me that he wants to say that he's sorry for the way that you found out that he died. It's like everybody found out but you. You were like the last to know, he shows me.
I was the last to know. I was the very last person to know.
He tells me. He also tells me that you wanted to see his body, or you tried to see his body.
I did.
And they would not let you. Is that correct?
Correct.
So know that your father says to me, I am so glad. I am so glad she was kept away from me, because that's not the way that I would have wanted her to say goodbye. So know that the fact that that has been on your heart, please release it. It's your dad's way of letting you know in spirit that the way that he wants you to remember him is the way that he was when you were just a little girl, because your dad used to be your hero. He says, and I always hope that I could be your hero in heaven, right? I really hope that this helped you. I know you weren't expecting a reading today. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you guys for being here.